Here was a big thing for me. When I was in the break room industry, I had my finger on the pulse of what was happening in everybody's break rooms. For someone, if you are a part of an organization that you are looking to attract top talent and retain, the talent that you do have, you want to know what's going on in other people's offices. And I had that information. So that was something that was always valuable for me to be in conversation with people. They'd want to know what was going on. And then I could inform them of how they could improve their break room, knowing what their goals were. Hey, are you looking to attract top talent? Well, let me tell you what a lot of the other break rooms in this area have and what they're offering people.
Coffee, micro markets and vending dreams. Break room legends and winning teams. Neil drops gold from behind the scenes.
Hey guys, I've got a really cool guest today, Nicole Cramer, who has been in our industry for about 8 years. She's moved on to be a sales coach now, but we are very excited to have her. Nicole, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you for having me, Neil.
Hey, so Nicole, as you know, we're a podcast based on the refreshment industry. You and I have been connected on LinkedIn for quite some time. I've only actually just started talking to you in the last couple of weeks/months. But tell us about your career at Aramark.
So I never saw myself actually becoming a salesperson. I started as a high school math teacher and decided that I wanted to try my hand at selling and got hired by Aramark to sell coffee services to offices. And fortunately, just about 2 months before I got hired, I had started drinking coffee for the first time in my life and loved being able to sell something that I really enjoyed and believed in, and decided that I wanted to be the best at doing it. And I set a goal when I first started that job that I was going to be the number one salesperson in the country. And that definitely was delusional. So yes.
Good,
And
good goal to start though. Number one,
yeah,
and go right to the top.
well, I'd left a 15-year career. I was scared and I knew I had to. Getting hired is only half the battle, right? I still have to hit the ground running and prove that I know how to sell. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the best at it. That's kind of how I am with how I approach things. And so I set that goal, like I said, very delusional, but I was just, I guess, oblivious enough that I believed it. And in just under 2 years, I made that goal happen. I beat out hundreds of people to become the number one salesperson in the country, and did that for a couple of years in a row, and really enjoyed selling what we sell. Like we bring a different vibe to offices with what we do. And to me, that was the excitement of it, because it's all about connection. And I think that that's
Yeah,
really what life is all about. So selling refreshment
yeah.
services really is about helping people connect.
That's so awesome to hear. And the fact that you set that big, as you said, a delusional goal right out of the gate and then chased it. I love
Yeah.
it. And then how long did you do it for? How long were you with Aramark?
7 years.
And
And
then
and
how
I
long were
didn't
you number one salesperson?
2 years.
And
Two
then
of
what
those
was a
years.
typical account you were selling? You were in Southern California, so it's a big pantry, as we say, pantry market where all the big high-tech companies are giving things away for free. But what type of accounts were you selling on a daily basis?
So very early on when I started, we called it grab and go at the
Yep.
time. I don't know if in some areas that they still call it that, but it was not really a thing, at least not in my territory. I was in LA. It was
Yep.
starting to become a thing. And so, initially it was our bread and butter was just the coffee brewer and the coffee services. And as I started to notice that people were adding things on to what they were ordering, and they wanted snacks and they wanted more things and they were giving those away, I was like, wait a minute, that's more bang for my buck if I sign those types of accounts. And I guess from that perspective of like, how can I work smarter and not harder? Because if left to my own devices, I'll work my tail off. Like I don't have a problem with hard work, but when I see an opportunity to do it, with a little lighter lift, I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to get really good at finding the accounts that want grab and go. Just so happened around that same time in that era, the Silicon Beach was starting to be developed, which meant all of the Silicon Valley companies migrating downwards towards LA and establishing a presence in what's called Playa Vista, and it became known as Silicon Beach. And that's my territory, and I know what those companies are doing up north, and they're that same thing down here. And so I just pounded the pavement really hard and did what I could to connect with as many of those types of customers and obviously pick all kinds of business along the way. You'll
Yeah,
find other levels, but that was really my focus is how can I find the grab and go customers?
that's it. So go after the big dogs or shoot for the stars. And then
Mhm.
even if you land on the moon, you're very successful.
That's
So
it. That's it.
we
Yeah.
we have a lady in our industry. Her name is Linda Saldana, and she does what you did in Southern California up in Atlanta. So not
Mhm.
Silicon Valley or Silicon Beach, as you say, which is amazing. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never heard of Silicon Beach, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But her philosophy is bringing joy to the workplace.
That's it.
I know a lot of independent operators in this industry who are just literally trying to survive. But for some
Mhm.
reason, Linda comes in and she was a sales rep for a big independent up in Atlanta and decided to start her own company. And she came out with bringing joy to the workplace, a whole different mindset.
Mhm.
And she's only been in the industry for 4 years. She's already at 20 million a year.
Wow.
But mindset is where it's at, right? You came in, you moved away from teaching to come into
Mhm.
sales, but you had that, as you said, delusional mindset. But it is mindset, right? It's all about mindset as we go out
Totally.
there and meet and greet.
Everything. Every like you're listen, if we want to talk sales, you're either selling yourself that you can do it or selling yourself that you can't. There's no neutral. Something. And most importantly, you're always selling something to yourself. And I think it's important to reevaluate. Like, am I selling myself what I want? Do I have the life that I
Yeah,
want? And yeah, was it delusional to say I was gonna be number 1? Yeah, I mean, it really was. Like, I have no idea. I had friends that were in sales, and many of them were successful, and one of them happened to be the number 1 salesperson in the country. I thought that sounded really cool, so I was like, "That's what I wanna do too." And I think it was just that shift from, like, I sold myself on what was possible. I was like, "All right, I'm out. If it takes me 10 years, it takes me 10 years, but at least I have something to work towards." And yeah, to your point, are you it's mindset. Are you selling for yourself and what's possible, or are you selling
yeah,
against?
totally. Now, was there one particular account that you cold called, knocked in on the door, went in and discovered this diamond that became an amazing sale for you?
Yeah, I've definitely have a couple of diamonds, and what I think is really interesting is one of them, it was an inbound inquiry. It was a brand new company, and they were maybe 5 or 10 minutes from our market center, and so it was just a hop, skip, and a jump. I went over there to meet with them, and it was a very, very new, but also looking to grow company, and they had, like, right around, I don't know, 100 people at the time,
Mhm.
and they said something about growing to, 1,200 or 1,500 people, and, still early stages, though, and
Yeah.
what happened is, long story short, about 2 months before that, I had sold a car dealership, a new coffee
Okay.
brewer. When we went to install it, I hadn't measured, total mistake, and it didn't fit, right? Like, many of the coffee chutes
Yeah.
are different,
Totally.
like, depending on how it's cut out.
Yeah.
It didn't fit,
Yeah.
and my install technician comes out, and he's like, "Nicole, did you measure?" And I was like, "Well, I just
Oops.
kinda looked at it, I thought it was fine." And he said, "No, it's you actually have to met," and so anyways, I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, what are we gonna do?" He's like, "We can't install it. We're gonna have to order a different piece of equipment for them." So we go back and I get a little bit of a, just rough time from my district manager, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you didn't measure.
Hey,
Like, are
hey.
you gonna
Yeah.
find a spot for this coffee brewer?" Right? I was like, don't worry, I'll
Yes.
find a spot." And I do the same thing again with another car dealership. I find a place for this coffee brewer.
Yeah.
I don't measure again. I have no idea what was going through my mind or why I didn't measure. We go to install it, same thing. My technician comes out. He's like, "You've got to be kidding me. You did not do this again." And I was like, "Does it not fit?"
Whoops.
I thought for sure. He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Again, my district manager is giving me a hard time. He's like, "You better," like, I was not the number one salesperson in the country at this point. I still had to
Yeah.
prove myself,
You were
right?
you was you were coming up.
Yeah, he's like, "You've got a $6,000 piece of equipment that you better find." And I was like, "I'll find it. I'll find it." And these are things that usually took 3, 4, 5, sometimes 5 or 6 weeks to them to come in. So it wasn't like an easy once somebody said that they wanted it, we had it. Well, I happen to have one that I was like, "I gotta find a home for it." So I get this inbound inquiry from this brand new account, know nothing about them. They're 10 minutes away. I drive over to meet with them, and she's like, "We just really need a coffee brewer now. Like, we're gonna be growing, we're gonna be doing other things, but is there any way that you could get us a coffee brewer now?" And I was like, "Well, what kind do you want? What are you looking for? What kind of experience are you looking for?" I realized that I met with her on a Tuesday. I had that coffee brewer installed in her office by Friday.
My
And it
gosh.
ended up being the start to the highest revenue account I'd ever sold in my entire career. Like, it made millions of dollars.
Was
So
it
it was really
technology
interesting.
company giving everything away for free?
It was giving everything away for free. They were looking to grow and establish a culture of, and they were really looking to attract top talent. And in LA, like, that's a big thing. We've got all kinds of top talent. How
Definitely.
do you get them to come to your place, right? Like, a
Yep.
more money on your paycheck only goes so far, but if you've got the culture, if you've got the environment, the experience, um, they were an electric car company,
Okay.
and looking to take on, Tesla and some of the other big companies. And so, yeah, I it was the start of a really, and I tell that story and I always look back on it 'cause I'm like, that was a mistake. That was a really big mistake for a couple of months until I figured
Yep.
out where it went. And obviously, I
Yep.
think it was meant to happen that way, because I wouldn't have had she had 2 other of my competitors that had met with her that were gonna
Okay.
be able to put a coffee brewer in pretty quickly. And she more or less
Yep.
said, "I like you. Is there any way you can get me one?" And I said, "If you can sign today, I can get you a brewer by this Friday."
Oh my gosh. The universe delivered, right? Once
Totally.
again, it comes back to
Totally.
attitude, right? If you have a good
Yeah.
attitude and you're ready to
Yep.
move and shake, opportunities come forward.
Yes. Life starts
That's a good
lining
one.
up in unexpected ways when you get clear, shift your mindset, get clear on what you want, and truly, and
Yeah.
it's hard to put your trust into it because it's not something we can predict or control, but it really is interesting when you look at your life, things will start to open up when you shift
Yeah.
your mindset.
Totally agree. I opened up a media company. It's called Go Refresh Media. And we do things like this. We do podcasts of interesting people in our industry. When I came to America 30 years ago, I couldn't even turn a computer on, let alone get in front of something like this and record. But I've
Yeah.
always had the mindset that I can figure this out. And it's actually New Zealanders in general. We live on a little island in the South Pacific where we take on everything. Just because we're little, we can do this. So,
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
to America 30 years ago, what I call the entrepreneurial heaven of the world.
Mhm.
Soon as I arrived in Los Angeles, I went out of the terminal and boom, just saw, a million cars coming flying by. The energy that was in LA at the time was amazing. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but it was going to be something exciting.
Yeah.
And it's, I can honestly say, probably one of my good traits is being resilient and just having a positive attitude no matter what happens. And I've been hit many times, but
Yeah.
you kind of pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on, right?
Yeah. What choice do you have?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what's another example in our industry of a diamond, another opportunity that you walked in somehow and made it happen?
So another very early on when I joined the sales team at Aramark, I had again gotten an inbound inquiry. These were not common. Like, there was a lot of pounding
Yeah,
the pavement, a
totally.
lot
Yep.
of knocking on doors, a
Yes.
lot, like, that's really all it was, right? It was a
Yes.
grind for sure. A way to enjoy that. You and I have talked, Neil, about the joys in the journey. I found a way to. I was like, the level for me of freedom from the classroom that already was a win. Like,
Yeah.
that I could drive around in my car and drop off coffee samples and snacks. This is my job. I'm getting to just drop off snacks, and everybody's excited to see when you have coffee and snacks, right? Like, my foot in the door. It's like, "Hey, I've got snacks. Is anybody available to come pick them up at the door?" "Yeah, sure." Um, Most people don't say no. Or, "I've got donuts and fresh coffee that I can deliver right now." So an inbound inquiry came in from Sony PlayStation, and I was like, maybe in my first 4 or 5 months of this job, right? And I'm like, "Oh my god, Sony PlayStation," thinking like, "I could knock it out of the park with this one. That's a big name. That would be really cool." I go and meet with the guy. I don't win the business, but he agrees to let me stay in touch. And so for 3 years in a row, I proposed, services to this guy. And during that time, though, what I discovered, and this is where the surprise was for me, in that same office area, was TMZ, which
Oh,
is the
wow.
entertainment company, the TV show, the tabloid sensationalized uh news media. And I was like, "Oh, TMZ." So once I got into the office park, you have to have a ticket and be able to get. I was like, "Oh, well, I'm in." So I can kind of go around and just, you know, um spy on what else is going on, what other companies are there. And I discovered that TMZ was there. So every time I would go visit Sony or take samples or do anything like that, trying to win their business, so trying to get into TMZ. I won both accounts within a couple of months of each other, but it took me 3 years for both. And it took me if I were like Sony was different because I had a contact. The person who had initially made that inbound inquiry, he was there all 3 of those years. And so he was the one that I was always in communication with. At TMZ, I had nobody. So that was the tough one. It was like, it was a fortress. And I was like, let me find my way in. For those 3 years, I got doors slammed in my face. I got hung up on. I got emails, blocked, not returned. Like it was, I'm nothing if not persistent. I always used to call myself pleasantly desperate. And so it was just what's another, I don't know. I was always just like, I'm in sales. I can find inroads. I'll just keep trying. I'll just keep, shooting. And the more shots you take, the
That's
more
it.
chances you have to make it. And I got my big break once in I lived in Hermosa Beach, and one of the hosts of the TV show TMZ happened to live in Hermosa Beach. And there I
Okay.
was watching college football one night, and he walks into the bar, and I see him, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the guy that I've been trying to get his attention for so long. And so I go up and I say hi. He remembers me vaguely. His wife happens to be there, and we have the best night together. They have some other friends that are there. And, after a few beverages, he said, listen, come by the office next week, drop off some coffee samples. I'll introduce you to who you need to be introduced to. And his wife said, if he does not answer the phone, you take my phone number and you call me and I'll make sure you get in there. Cause I told him, I was like, I've been trying to get in for, 3 years. And that was my in. And I went in the next week. And from there we designed what they wanted their break room to look like. And it was probably
Yeah.
one of the most enjoyable ones I worked on because I got to be in TMZ's like recording studio for months at a time.
Amazing.
It was
Wow.
really fun. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
no,
So
that is a good one. Hey, well, over the last 2 minutes, I've written a couple of notes, and it's really important. If you're a salesperson in our industry, the first one you mentioned, pounding the pavement.
mhm,
The second one was the more shots you take on as you played college basketball, right? The more
mhm.
shots you put
Yep,
out, the more you're going to hit. And then the
yep,
last one I wrote down was eyes wide open.
mhm.
If you're out pounding the pavement, taking these shots, you've got to, in sales, you've got to be looking for opportunities because they can come in bars outside of business hours, right?
Yep. Anywhere. And you know what it is? They're all there. All the opportunities exist already. They're all like floating around invisibly in the air. Are you
Yeah.
starting conversations? Because the conversations are the pathways to all these different opportunities. And before you
Yeah.
make up your mind that somebody isn't the right person to start a conversation with, they might know the person that wants to do business with you. They could make a
Yeah.
referral, they could make a connection. Like conversations and getting yourself out there is really the most important thing to do. And like you said, eyes wide open because they can come from anywhere.
Yeah. And you have to be ready. Yeah.
Got to be ready.
I had a small, before I started all this, and what sort of entrenched me into this business as I had my own little vending company in Pleasanton, California, Northern California. And everywhere I drove, I was just looking at office buildings and cars in the parking lot. And then I would do what you did. I just walked right in the front door. I never took samples with me. I should have taken the coffee and the fresh donuts, but I just walked in the door. And I was very lucky being from New Zealand. I'd be
Yeah.
like, "G'day, mates." And then the
Yeah.
customer would be like, "Oh, where are you from?" And then we'd literally talk about New Zealand for 20 minutes. It's usually
Yep.
on their bucket list. And
Yep.
that was the equivalent of my fresh donuts and coffee, was just
There you go.
walking in and saying hi. And then that opportunity advanced from there.
But that's such a perfect example, Neil. Like find your thing, right? It might not be I
Yeah.
mean, coffee are always a pretty solid solid route to take. But
Yes.
what is your way of connecting with people? Because that's what this is all about. Find a way to
Yep.
connect and
Yeah.
serve first and trust
Yep.
that the rest will follow.
Yep. It's kind of like fishing, right? You throw that hook over and you do your little dance and shake your rod a bit. And then when they bite, oh, now just reel them in.
Exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
one of our I don't know, what do we call it? Pillars of our business is cool break rooms. We go around the world and we profile amazing break rooms. Um, you mentioned earlier when you walk in the front door to these types of companies, it's not if anyone can put a snack machine in or a coffee brew or whatever, but it's all about building a culture, right? The new way of selling, especially at a high level, is culture. Tell us a little bit about culture and how you view it.
When people feel good about where they are, they want to be there more often. And I
Hmm.
think every company and a lot of things changed during COVID when, everybody had to work from home for a period of time, but I think it's shifted and I have not been in the refreshments industry since COVID, but I would
Hmm.
say from work that I do and what I've seen, it's probably more important now than it ever has been for that exact
Yeah.
reason. Because people
Yep.
left the office, they worked from home, and while there were some pros to that as well, there are also some cons, especially when it comes to culture and how it impacts that. And when you've got people showing up together instead of staying home by themselves, you've got a different vibe and a different energy in what you're working on and building together. People feel like they're up something. And when they've got a break room that's exciting, that they, like your friend says, like, bringing joy to
Yeah.
organizations, to break,
Yeah.
it gives people a reason to connect with each other, to show up, to be there. The camaraderie, the morale, everything starts to improve because you've got people
Yeah.
connected and together. That makes it easier to recruit top talent. That makes it easier to retain the people that are on your team that are solid. And so to me, it's like that's what you're selling. The customer experience, your employees
Yeah.
really are your customers. You want to keep them happy. You want to give them a good experience so that they want to do good work for you.
Yep. Yep. As you said earlier, I about money, right? You can add another dollar onto
Hmm.
somebody's paycheck, $1 an hour, $8 a day, which gets, once you subtract out taxes, and they
Yeah.
can't even feel it. But if you spend $8 on your employee in the break
Yes.
room and give them
Yeah.
free drinks and free snacks, that
Yep.
$8 goes actually a long way, and it makes them feel really good about
For
coming to
sure.
work.
For sure. Well, and
Yeah.
maybe you serve breakfast in the mornings. Well, you know what? That gets people there because you've made not just food available for them, you've made their
Yeah.
morning life more convenient because now
Yeah.
they know
Totally.
that when they get to the office, they can count on something that completes a part of their morning, but then they were free to take care of whatever else needed to happen in their day. You're making
Yeah.
life more convenient for them, and people thrive when things are more convenient. So, yeah, an extra $8 on their paycheck, they'd have to direct that money themselves towards where they wanted
Yeah.
to make their life more convenient. If you direct it in a
Yeah.
way that everybody within your organization can count on more convenience around how they live their life, that to me is
Yeah.
a huge sale. Yeah.
Yep. So, Nicole, earlier in the talk today, you talked about a lot of your opportunities came from pounding the pavement. One of the things I've been very successful in with my Venn Central business that we just sold to Cantaloupe was I taught owners how to pound the pavement online. So rather
Mm.
than banging on doors consistently and going in and giving them the fresh coffee and donuts, I taught them how to knock on the doors using LinkedIn. And
Okay.
have you seen that in your career as well? That things have shifted from not as much pounding the pavement to more putting content out online?
Yes and no. I think we're at a point where we're in a little bit of a trust recession, I would say, just across the board because there's so much noise online. And there's
Yeah,
so much technology that allows so much additional noise and distraction to be online that I
yeah,
think it's never been more important to actually be face to face and connect with people.
yeah.
So I would always say that regardless of where you're at,
Hmm.
making an effort to still get in person with people as often as possible is always going to be
Right.
important. But I
Yeah,
also think we are in a day and age where it would be silly not to also be utilizing the online tools that we have available to us.
yeah,
So I only say that because I don't think it's like, let's put all our eggs in one basket and now all of a sudden we're knocking on digital doors.
yeah,
Always keep that piece in. That's gonna be a game changer.
yeah,
People will remember you differently. They will
yeah,
connect with you differently, especially if you do have coffee and snacks and you're showing up to say, "Hey, is anybody
yeah,
here to get,"
yeah.
like, of course, they're gonna
Yeah,
walk
it's
downstairs.
actually it's going backwards, right? Because there's so much noise, as you just
Yeah.
mentioned, and then there's now AI noise. We don't know what's fake, what's real.
Yep.
And if you just show up as your real, authentic self, all of a sudden they're like, wow, you've
Yep.
made a big
Yep.
difference.
Well, and it's a lot like, I get people all the time that, email me and say, "Hey, I've got $10 Starbucks gift card I'll send your way if you're open to, a 45-minute meeting with me." And again, that's a version of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Pounding the
yeah,
pavement. That's a
yeah,
way to do it. "Hey, I've got coffee for you. Here you go if you'll meet with me." But that still feels to me different than if you stand at somebody's door front of their company and knock on the door and
Yep.
you're holding
Yep.
snacks in your hand. Number one,
Yep.
it's really hard. People still decline them, but it's a lot harder to decline when somebody's physically standing. I don't
Yes.
say yes to a lot of those meetings when people email me and say, "Hey, here's a $10 Starbucks card if you'll meet with me." I think it's a nice gesture. I still
Yep.
think that that is a little bit more of a heavy lift than actually just
Yep.
stopping by their office with the actual snacks
Yep.
in hand.
Yep. Totally. I put a lot of videos out. I probably do 2 to 3 videos a week right now. Recorded one outside Starbucks this morning. And what I try to marry together is the
Mhm.
new versus the personal relationship stuff. And I try to put it on video. And then
Yeah.
I push it out across my whole industry because when we're selling our Zippy Assist product, we're selling nationally. I can't be in front of everyone nationally, but I can on video. So a lot of my
Yep.
videos are 60 seconds long, just me trying to
Yeah.
connect. And then I'll
Yep.
throw in 2 to 3 points about our product and then just try to
Totally.
make it fun. So I try to
Yeah.
marry those two things together with video.
If it were me now and I were doing things different, I would 100% have a digital blueprint for how I
Yeah.
also secured business. And it's a lot of it is what I've learned from being in the coaching industry now for 8 years. I would have a one to many way to provide value to people, to create community for
Mm,
people, even if it's the office director or off like whoever it is that I'm selling to, if they're a part of another organization, I would find ways that would be valuable for them to want to be a part of my world. Like, what are some tips
mm,
I could share with them? What's value? Especially if you're here was a big thing for me when I was in the break room industry. I had my finger on the pulse of what was happening in everybody's break rooms for someone if you are a
yeah.
part of an organization that you are looking to attract top talent and retain the talent that you do have, you want to know what's going on in other people's offices, and I had that information. So that was something that was always valuable for me to be in conversation with people. They'd want to know what was going on, and then I could inform them of how they could improve their break
Yeah.
room, knowing what their goals were. Hey, are you looking to attract top talent? Well, let me tell you what a lot of the other break rooms in this area have and what they're offering people. And then it's like
Yeah.
I'm being valuable for them because I'm helping them with more than just let's get you good coffee. And so if I were to do it now and I were in refreshments, I would have an online space where I provided value, even if it's just a LinkedIn post once a week where I'm providing tips and people want to check in with my posts. But I would do what you're doing,
Yeah.
Neil, and I would have a
Yeah.
video because video
Yep.
is video is king. And
It is king.
it builds that parasympathetic relationship, right? It's a way for somebody to connect with you, feel like they know you before they even actually meet you. And so I would have as many ways as I could to do those connections while still maintaining the human connection piece of pounding the pavement.
Yep. Perfect. Great advice. Now, Nicole, so you spent 8 years at Aramark. What prompted you to leave? And then tell us what you're doing now since you've left.
Well, what I loved is when I became really successful at Aramark, I was so happy to help other people when they joined our team, not because it was
Yeah.
my role, not because I was a manager. I just really, it was two things. I did not know that salespeople didn't have to be the stereotypical kind of salesperson that we all think of. So that was
Yeah.
refreshing for me when I realized I had created my success in a way that was contradictory to what I thought a salesperson had to be. I was like, "Oh my god, I want to share this with everybody." Like you can just be a
Yeah.
nice person and care about people and make sales. That's so cool. So everybody that joined our sales team, I was like, "Come ride along with me." And when you're the number one salesperson in the country, everybody's happy to ride along with you, right? Fun really being the teacher that I'd always been in a different way. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. And I would never take credit for anyone's success, but the people that I was training and helping that were riding along with me were going on to be really successful. And I was like, "Oh, this is fun. I'm having fun helping them. They're going on to be successful." And somebody said to me, "People get paid to do this in organizations." And I was like,
You're
"Do
like,
what?"
oh,
And they were like, "Yeah, they hire people like you to actually come in, and that's their full-time job to coach people how to sell." And I was like, "What? No, actually."
yeah.
They do. And I was like, "Oh, well, let me start doing that." And at the time, I had become a health coach and really have strong, passionate feelings around helping people become healthier.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of health coaches that were not selling because they were afraid of being salesy. And so I just started a business on the side where I was helping my fellow health coaches learn how to sell. And that eventually grew and grew to the point where it was like it made way more sense for me to do that full time, and I was really enjoying it. And so when I saw
Okay.
the opportunity, I took it. And as much as I loved
Wow.
Aramark and loved the people that I worked with, it was time for a new challenge for me. And I was really enjoying helping people find their way to what sales is really all about. I
Yeah.
want to shift people's perspective. I know mine almost my feeling about sales and salespeople almost prevented me from changing my life the way I did with sales because I
Yeah.
was so afraid of being a salesy weirdo. And I didn't want that, that stigma.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was able, and we were back to mindset, the fact that I was able to shift my mindset and then give myself the opportunity to be a salesperson and do it in a way that felt really good, I was like, the whole world needs to know about this because I think
Yeah.
sales is what makes the world go round. That's how we help
Totally.
people.
Yeah, that's such a funny point you made about being a sales weirdo, right? It's not, you don't have to be a great speaker and all these different stereotypical things. You've got to
Yeah,
show up authentically as
be
yourself.
you.
And if you do like connecting with people, I can't believe more people don't want to be sales reps driving around in their car listening to music, and then you do a
Freedom.
half an hour call and then back in the car driving a little bit more.
It's freedom.
Oh, yeah,
It's freedom in a way. You just have so much when you learn how to sell, when you learn the skill of influence, it will change your entire life because you won't just use it
yeah,
in your commercial opportunities, right? This is like in your
yeah,
relationships with the people that you love and care about because you'll
yeah,
understand how to communicate at a higher level and get more of what you want by understanding how to be more influential. And that helps everybody around you because you know what people
yeah,
have trouble with? Making decisions. All
yeah,
sales is? Salespeople are just professional mind maker uppers. We just help people make up their mind. And when you get better at doing that, everybody wins.
yeah. That's exactly right. Hey, so Nicole, what is your brand? Have you got what's the company name that you go out as?
TNC Speaking and Coaching.
Okay. And then what is a typical customer? What is if you were to win a sweet spot account that you do, what does that look like?
People bring me in to train their sales teams, their leadership teams. We really dial down to, influential communication, knowing what
Okay.
to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. And, using that as an opportunity to convert more of your conversations into clients.
Okay.
So working with people specifically with their teams, they also bring me in to keynote their annual sales conferences and different events and workshops that they're running. Um, and then if they're really interested in behavioral change, then we work together for a period of time to help them build those skills.
Okay. Have you ever come back into our industry, an Aramark or a Compass or a Sodexo? Have you done?
Yeah,
Not yet. All right, guys, we're throwing it out there. Nicole is available.
I've got some pretty good trade industry secrets that I can train on and share.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting chatting to you and just getting your kind of whole mindset on this because we've got a wonderful industry here. We're a $40 billion industry. We're going through a lot of transition right now. Everyone is still trying to bring their businesses back from COVID. Company culture is a big pull, and our industry needs to learn how to sell that. Linda up at Seventh Wave Refreshments in Atlanta has nailed it with her bringing joy to the workplace. But we're in a transition. We've got the smart cooler that
Mhm.
is sort of knocking the micro markets out now, and everyone's putting out smart coolers. So we're at that
Interesting.
transition point, and it's sales. Sales
Yeah.
is what's going to take our companies to the
Yeah.
next level.
Yep.
So lots of
Yep.
different tips.
Was-
Cole, I really appreciate you jumping in here and having a chat to us and just sharing a few tips and tricks. And I'm putting it out there. If anyone wants to bring Nicole in and teach their organization a few tricks, she's not only teaching you sales, but as she described earlier, her adventures in Silicon Beach, she can bring refreshment tips to the floor.
Yes. Thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. I really appreciate it.